Okay, Assalamu alaikum students. So let's get started with IGCSE Physics, February March 2023. Paper 2, Variant 2. This is an MCQs based paper. So let's get started with it. Okay. So which list contains two scalar quantities and two vector quantities? अच्छा किस लिस्ट में दो स्केलर क्वांटिटीज हैं और दो वेक्टर क्वांटिटीज हैं? ओके, डिस्टेंस इज अ स्केलर क्वांटिटी। ओके, ये स्केलर हो गई। स्पीड इज अ स्केलर क्वांटिटी, ठीक है। टाइम भी स्केलर है तो ये नहीं हो सकता। वी वांट टू स्केलर टू वेक्टर्स। फोर्स इज अ वेक्टर क्वांटिटी, वेलोसिटी इज अ वेक्टर क्वांटिटी, डिस्टेंस इज अ स्केलर, मास इज अ स्केलर। बी इज योर आंसर, सिंपल। अब क्वेश्चन 2 पे आ जाओ। द डायग्राम शोज द स्पीड टाइम ग्राफ फॉर अ कार, which row describes the motion of the car at point x and at point y. You have to describe the motion of the car at point x and at point y. So at point x, what is happening? The speed is changing. क्या कहोगे? At point x, the speed of the car is changing. A or B cancel out. What is happening at point y? The car is moving at a constant speed. यहाँ पे horizontal line है. This is indicating that the car is moving at constant speed. D is your answer. Let's further move ahead. Four objects are moving in a straight line. The table shows the distance moved by each object in each second of its motion. Which object is moving with constant non-zero acceleration? कौन सा ऑब्जेक्ट एक्सेलरेट कर रहा है with a constant value? Let's analyze option A. First second में you are covering a distance of 5, second में भी 5, थर्ड में भी 5 meters कवर कर रहे हो, फोर्थ सेकंड में भी 5 meters कवर कर रहे हो. Option A is a constant speed scenario. बेटा ऑप्शन ए क्या है? कांस्टेंट स्पीड सिनेरियो। फर्स्ट सेकंड में 5 मीटर, सेकंड सेकंड में 5 मीटर्स, थर्ड सेकंड में 5 मीटर्स, फोर्थ सेकंड में 5 मीटर्स। नॉट व्हाट वी वांट। वी वांट अ सिनेरियो जिसमें आपकी एक्सेलरेशन कांस्टेंट हो बेटा। लेट्स सी ऑप्शन बी। फर्स्ट सेकंड में आप 5 मीटर्स कवर कर रहे हो, सेकंड सेकंड में यू आर कवरिंग 6 मीटर्स, थर्ड सेकंड में यू आर कवरिंग 7 मीटर्स, फोर्थ सेकंड में यू आर कवरिंग 8 मीटर्स। कैन यू रियलाइज आफ्टर एवरी 1 सेकेंड आपका डिस्टेंस जो है वो +1 होता जा रहा है? या दिस मीन्स यू आर मूविंग विथ कांस्टेंट एक्सेलरेशन। बी इज योर आंसर, सिंपल। सी नहीं हो सकता भाई, बिकॉज +2 देन +3 देन +4, दिस इज नॉट कांस्टेंट। एक्सेलरेशन तो हो रही है बट कांस्टेंट नहीं है। सेम विद द केस विद डी। डी में भी आपकी एक्सेलरेशन कांस्टेंट नहीं है बट हो रही है। सो नॉट द ऑप्शन दैट वी नीड अ कांस्टेंट accelerating object. Actually, let's see this. The drag force on a car increases with speed at 20 meters per second. The total drag force is 400. So let's suppose this is your car. The drag force is 400 Newton. The mass of the car is 1200 kg and the driving force is 700 Newton. Okay. Which statement about the acceleration of the car at 20 meters per second is correct? First of all, resultant force निकाल लो बेटा. How will you calculate resultant force? 700 minus 400. This comes out to be 300 Newton as your resultant force. Resultant force का formula क्या है? Mass into acceleration is equals to your resultant force. What is your mass? 1200. 1200 mass की जगह पे put किया बेटा. What does your acceleration comes out to be? 300 divided by 1200. Acceleration is 0.25 meters per second square. So your car has an acceleration of 0.25 meters per second square. Option C or D cancel out हो गया. What will happen to the acceleration as time passes by? As time passes by, can you realize the speed will increase? As the speed will increase, the drag force will increase. बेटा जैसे जैसे टाइम पास बाय करेगा आपकी स्पीड इंक्रीज करेगी, drag force increase करेगी. If the drag force increases, resultant force will decrease. If resultant force decreases, acceleration will decrease. A is your answer. अब आ जाओ क्वेश्चन 5 पे. A rectangular swimming pool is 50 meter long, 25 meter wide and 2 meter in depth. The density of water is this. You have to calculate the mass of water. How will you do that? Density into volume. What is the density? 1000. Volume क्या है बेटा? 50 into 25 into 2. What does your answer come out to be? बताओ भाई आंसर क्या आ रहा है? 50 into 25 into 2 into 1000. Your answer comes out to be 250 and 4 zeros kg. D is your answer. आगे बढ़ते हैं. An object is rising vertically at constant speed. बेटा constant speed का मतलब क्या होता है? Up forces will be equal to the down forces. Resultant force will be zero. There are three vertical forces acting on it: the weight, the drag force, and the upward force U. Which diagram shows the magnitude and the direction of the vertical forces acting on the object? Easily cancel out option B and C. B और C easily क्यों cancel out हो जाएंगे? Because you are moving at constant speed. At constant speed, your up forces should be equal to the down forces. In option B, up forces क्या है? 3 plus 2, that is 5. Down forces क्या है बेटा? 1 Newton. They are not equal to each other. Cancel out कर दो. ऑप्शन सी में देखो, अप फोर्स क्या है? 2. डाउन फोर्स क्या है? 4 न्यूटन. दे आर नॉट इक्वल टू ईच अदर. ये भी कैंसिल आउट कर दो. नाउ यू हैव टू राइट अ की पॉइंट अबाउट ड्रैग फोर्सेस. ड्रैग फोर्सेस के बारे में की पॉइंट लिखो. ड्रैग फोर्सेस ऑलवेज oppose मोशन. ड्रैग फोर्सेस हमेशा मोशन को ऑपोज करती हैं बेटा. ड्रैग फोर्सेस ऑलवेज ऑपोज मोशन. इसका मतलब क्या है? इसका मतलब ये है दैट इफ योर ऑब्जेक्ट इज राइजिंग, if your object is moving in the upward direction, where will your drag force act? Drag force will act downward. ऑप्शन ए को कैंसिल आउट कर दो. बिकॉज इफ योर ऑब्जेक्ट इज मूविंग अपवर्ड, आपकी ड्रैग फोर्स भी अपवर्ड नहीं लगेगी. ड्रैग फोर्स ऑलवेज ऑपोजिट मोशन. इफ यू आर मूविंग अपवर्ड, योर ड्रैग फोर्स विल एक्ट डाउनवर्ड. और अगर आप डाउनवर्ड मूव कर रहे हो, वेयर विल योर ड्रैग फोर्स एक्ट? अपवर्ड. ठीक है. तो here you are moving upward, drag force should act downward. What is the force in the downward direction? 1 plus 2, that is 3 Newton. Upward direction में बेटा क्या फोर्स है? 3 न्यूटन. बोथ आर इक्वल. डी इज योर आंसर. आगे बढ़ते हैं. What a interesting question. Just focus on the board. Two boys of equal weight sit on one side of a seesaw as shown. Okay. Let's say the weight of this boy is W, the weight of this boy is W. Their father of weight 1000 Newton sits on the other side. अच्छा जी, इनके father हैं 1000 Newton के, that is sitting on the other side. Perfect. The seesaw is balanced. That means anti-clockwise moment is equals to clockwise moment. And is being used so that it moves up and down. Okay. During one part of the cycle, the father descends through a distance of 40 centimeter. At the same time, the boy present nearest to the pivot descends through 20 centimeter while the other boy rises 80 centimeter. अच्छा जी, हो ये रहा है कि the father is moving downward 40 centimeter. These two boys are moving upward. This is moving upward with a value of 20 centimeter. This is moving upward with a value of 80 centimeter. The father is moving downward with a value of 40 centimeter. Now you will find many solutions on the internet that do this question by assuming anti-clockwise movement is equals to clockwise movement. बेटा आपको इंटरनेट पे बहुत ज़्यादा सॉल्यूशंस मिल जाएंगे जो इसको एंटी क्लॉकवाइज इज इक्वल्स टू क्लॉकवाइज करके करेंगे, बट दैट्स अ वेरी, you can say, less intelligent method. You can do this question considering law of conservation of energy. Sir, what do you mean by that? Beta, the father is moving downward. He is losing gravitational potential energy. The loss in gravitational potential energy by father is equals to gain in gravitational potential energy by the boys. How will you calculate loss in gravitational potential energy of the father? mg into the height that the father moves downward, that is 0.4. 40 सेंटीमीटर को मैंने मीटर्स में कन्वर्ट कर लिया. If you convert 40 centimeters into meter, you divide it by 100. 0.4 meter. What will be the gravitational potential energy gained by the boys? This boy is moving upward with a value of what? Mass of the boy into gravitational field strength, and the boy is moving upward with a value of 0.2. Plus this other boy, mass of the boy, gravitational field strength, other boy is moving upward. 80 centimeter converted into meters, it will become 0.8. Now you have to realize the weight of the father is already given 1000 Newton. Plug it here. 1000 into 0.4. Mass of the boy into gravitational field strength of the boy. Gravitational field strength of the earth, that is weight, 0.2, plus weight, 0.8. 1000 into 0.4 is 400. 0.2 W plus 0.8 W. W being the weight of the boy. 400 is your weight. 400 Newton comes out to be your weight. So beta, how have I done this question? I have just assumed that the loss in gravitational potential energy by the father will be equal to the gain in gravitational potential energy by the boys. The weight of the father is 1000 Newton multiplied by the height that the father loses, that is 40 centimeter or 0.4 meters. What is the height gained by the boys? 0.2 and 0.4. Multiply it, calculate your answer, easy peasy. You can see here. Now, 400 Newton comes out to be your answer. आगे बढ़ते हैं. Zoom in करते हैं. A student measures the length of a spring. She then attaches different weights to the spring. She measures the length of the spring for each weight. The table shows her results. What is the extension of the spring with a weight of 3 Newton attached to it? अच्छा जी, हमने extension of the spring निकालनी है when a weight of 3 Newton is attached to it. बेटा आपकी initial length or the length of the spring without any weight is 520 Newton. When you attach a 3 Newton का weight, आपकी length क्या हो गई? 533. What is the extension? Extension किस तरह निकालोगे? 533 minus 520. Extension comes out to be 13 millimeter. D is your answer. Simple. बेटा जब 0 न्यूटन की फोर्स थी तब आपकी लेंथ क्या थी? 520. When you apply a 3 न्यूटन की फोर्स, your length becomes 533. Minus 8, extension comes out to be 13 millimeter. आगे बढ़ते हैं. The momentum of a body is changed by a force acting on it for a period of time. Which action increases the change in momentum? कौन सा action increases the change in momentum? Do you remember? Force is equals to change in momentum over time. Force multiplied by time is equals to change in momentum. How can you increase change in momentum? By doubling the force, halving the time? No. By doubling the force? Yep. If you only double the force, your momentum will also double. B is your answer. अच्छा जी. The equation used to find the change in gravitational potential energy of an object can be written as this. Change in gravitational potential energy किसके equal है? Y into Z into change in height. What is Y? Mass. What is Z? Gravitational field strength. A is your answer. A machine has a power input of this. A useful output energy of 1 kilojoules in 6 minutes. Okay. What is the efficiency of the machine? You have the power input. Can you calculate the power output? Yes. एनर्जी आउटपुट ओवर टाइम, एनर्जी क्या है बेटा, 1 किलो जूल, 1 × 10⁻³ divided by time of 6 minutes, 6 into 60 seconds in each minute. Can you calculate this answer? क्या आंसर आ गया ये? This comes out to be 2.8 watts. That's very low power output, but let's continue with it. Efficiency का formula क्या होता है बेटा? What is the formula of efficiency? Yes. Power output divided by power input into 100. Power output is 2.8. Power input is 200 into 100. Cancel, cancel. 1 and 1.4. C is your answer. Let me check. I am surprised. Answer is C. Yep. What is the unit of power? Oh, watts. D. The diagram shows a rectangular block of weight 16 Newton. It is resting on a flat surface. What is the pressure at the base of the block? Pressure is equals to force over area. What is the force that you have? 16 Newton. What is the area of the base? This thing. बेटा यही area of the base है 4 centimeter into 5 centimeter. 16 divided by 20. This answer comes out to be 0.8 Newton per centimeter square. C is your answer. आगे बढ़ते हैं बेटा 14 पे. An oil tank has a base area of this. Okay. It has a depth of this. Density is this. What is the force exerted on the base of the oil tank? First of all, calculate the mass of the oil. Density into volume. Density क्या है बेटा? 800. How will you calculate the volume? Area क्या है? 2.5. Height क्या है? 1.2. What does your mass comes out to be? 800 into 2.5 into 1.2. This comes out to be 2400 kg is your mass. How will you calculate the weight? वेट या फिर फोर्स कैसे निकालोगे? वेट इज इक्वल टू mg. मास क्या है? 2400. ग्रेविटेशनल फील्ड स्ट्रेंथ इज 9.8. Calculate this answer. This comes out to be 23520 Newton. That is roughly 24,000 Newton. D is your answer. A sample of gas is trapped in a rigid container. As the temperature of the gases increase, the pressure increases. Which statement is not correct? The gas molecules have a greater kinetic energy. This is correct. The gas molecule hits the container harder. This is also correct. The gas molecule hits more frequently. This is also correct. The gas molecules move further apart. This is not correct. Why? Because the gas is trapped in a rigid container. You have a fixed volume. Simple. What happens when the temperature of the liquid increases? बेटा मास कभी नहीं इंक्रीज हो सकता. A and B cancel out. When the temperature of the liquid increases, what happens? The volume of the liquid increases. If the volume of the liquid increases, what will happen? The liquid becomes less denser. How do you know that? Density is equals to mass over volume. If your volume is increasing, can you realize density and volume are inversely proportional? बच्चे अगर वॉल्यूम इंक्रीज होगा तो डेंसिटी डिक्रीज होगी. इट विल बिकम लेस डेंस. इज योर आंसर. A bar of metal is a good thermal conductor. It is heated at one end. What is the main method of transfer of thermal energy along the bar? देखो बार ऑफ मेटल है ना, तो मेटल में मेन सोर्स ऑफ एनर्जी ट्रांसफर क्या होता है? ट्रांसफर बाय इलेक्ट्रॉन. सी इज योर आंसर. आगे बढ़ते हैं. A transverse wave move along a rope. The diagram shows the position of the rope at one particular instant. Okay. Which two label points are one wavelength apart? कौन से दो points are one wavelength apart? This point x and this point z. One wavelength apart. C is your answer. Simple. आगे आते हैं. Light in a transparent plastic meets a boundary with air. Light is transmitted into the air only if the angle marked theta in the diagram is greater than 36. बेटा एग्जामिनर ये कह रहा है कि लाइट जो है प्लास्टिक से एयर में तभी जाएगी if this theta is greater than 36. मतलब if you want refraction, this theta must be greater than 36. If this theta is not greater than 36, अगर ये 36 डिग्री के इक्वल है तो क्या हो रहा है? The light is traveling along the boundary. ये एंगल ऑफ रिफ्रैक्शन आपका 90 डिग्री हो रहा है. In this situation, your angle of incidence is known as what? बेटा अगर आपकी लाइट अलोंग द सरफेस ट्रैवल करना शुरू कर जाए इस सिचुएशन में आपका एंगल ऑफ इंसिडेंस क्या कहलाता है? क्रिटिकल एंगल. कैन यू कैलकुलेट दिस एंगल ऑफ इंसिडेंस? यप, इजीली. ये पूरी चीज़ क्या है? 90 डिग्री. 90 डिग्री इज इक्वल टू 36 प्लस एंगल ऑफ इंसिडेंस आई. 90 minus 36 is equals to your angle of incidence, that is 54 degree. Is your, no, I think it will be 44, I guess. No, 54. 54 degree is your angle of incidence. Okay. अब this angle of incidence is your critical angle. Critical angle हो गया 54 degrees. How will I calculate refractive index? N is equals to 1 over sine of critical angle, 1 over sine of 54. Can you calculate this answer, bacha? This answer comes out to be 1.23. C is your answer. आगे बढ़ते हैं. A thin converging lens has a focal length f. An object is placed left to the lens as shown. अच्छा जी ऑब्जेक्ट यहाँ पे प्लेस किया हुआ है हमने. Where is the image form and how does the size compare to the object? बेटा इमेज कहाँ पे फॉर्म हो रही है and how does its size compare with the object? Can you realize आपने अपना ऑब्जेक्ट फोकल पॉइंट f और ऑप्टिकल सेंटर के बीच में प्लेस किया. Whenever the object is placed between the optical center and the focal point क्या होता है? इमेज की पोजीशन कहाँ होती है? On the same side of the lens as the object. बेटा अगर आपने अपना ऑब्जेक्ट फोकल पॉइंट और ऑप्टिकल सेंटर के बीच में प्लेस किया, व्हाट विल बी द इमेज? इमेज कहाँ बनेगी? सेम साइड एज द ऑब्जेक्ट. यू विल हैव अ वर्चुअल इमेज and the image will be larger than the object. C is your answer. आगे बढ़ते हैं. Which diagram shows what happens when a ray of white light passes through a prism? Option A को भी कैंसिल कर दो, B को भी कैंसिल कर दो. This is an absurd drawing. C भी गलत है. D is correct. Simple. प्रिज्म की ड्राइंग आई होप सो एवरीवन रिमेंबर्स. प्रिज्म में लाइट जो है वो इस पॉइंट पे ब्रेक करती है, देन इट बेंड्स away from the normal like this. D is your answer. Okay, let's see this. A television station transmits a signal to a television receiving dish. Okay. The television has an on off indicator. The television is switched on by a remote control which changes the indicator light from red to green. Which electromagnetic wave used in these actions has the longest wavelength? First of all, तो identify करो कहाँ पे क्या चीज़ यूज हो रही है. From the TV station to the satellite, we are using microwaves. Okay. Between the remote controller and the TV, we are using infrared rays. Yeah, infrared radiation, whatever you want to call them. और आईज और लाइट के बीच में कौन सी रेज यूज हो रही है? विजिबल लाइट. विजिबल लाइट. Which one of them has the highest wavelength? Microwaves A have the highest wavelength. A is your answer. आगे बढ़ते हैं. A student makes list of some application of waves. ठीक है. Which applications use ultrasound waves? कौन सी चीज़ें जो हैं वो अल्ट्रासाउंड यूज़ करता है? मेडिकल स्कैनिंग ऑफ सॉफ्ट टिश्यूज या स्टेरिलाइजिंग वाटर? नो. यूजिंग सोनार टू कैलकुलेट ओशन डेप्थ? यस. वन और थ्री सही होगा मेरे ख्याल से. सी इज योर आंसर. 23 का आंसर विल बी सी. आगे बढ़ते हैं. द डायग्राम शोज a bar magnet at rest on a smooth horizontal surface. A length of soft iron wire. अच्छा जी ये soft iron wire है. is held parallel to the magnet. The wire is released. What happens? वायर जैसे ही रिलीज करोगे क्या होगा? The soft iron wire will get attracted towards the magnet. The wire will move towards the magnet. ऐसा क्यों होता है? Why does this happen? The wire moves towards the magnet. Why? Because soft iron always attracts. Soft iron हमेशा attract करता है. आगे बढ़ते हैं. Which diagram shows the electric field pattern around a positive charge? हमेशा याद रखो positive charge से field lines emit out हो रही होती हैं, बाहर निकल रही होती हैं. ए जीरो आंसर. आगे बढ़ते हैं बेटा. अच्छा जी. A laboratory has a standard wire of known resistance. It also has other wires made from the same material as the standard wire but of different lengths and diameters. Which wire would definitely have a resistance of less than the standard wire? मतलब आपको सबसे छोटी resistance चाहिए. You want the smallest resistance. You have to remember two things. Resistance is directly proportional to length and resistance is inversely proportional to diameter square. So if you have the smallest length, अगर आपकी length कम होगी तो resistance कम होगी. A B cancel कर दो. What about the diameter? The greater the diameter, they are inversely proportional. The greater the diameter, the smaller the resistance. Do we have a larger diameter option? Yes, C is your option. Let's see this. The graph shows the relationship between the current in a circuit component and the potential difference across it. The graph has a straight section and then a curved one. अच्छा जी ये एक straight section है. After this you have a curved section. First of all you need to realize कि current versus voltage के graph का gradient क्या होता है? The gradient of current versus voltage graph is equals to 1 over resistance. बेटा करंट वर्सेस वोल्टेज के ग्राफ का ग्रेडियंट क्या होता है? 1 over resistance. In this straight section, in this yellow highlighted section, can you realize gradient is constant? अगर gradient constant होगा बेटा तो in this straight highlighted region the resistance will also be constant. Option A and B cancel out. Can you realize in the blue region gradient decrease कर रहा है? If the gradient is decreasing, can you realize gradient or resistance inversely proportional and resistance will increase? D is your answer. Simple. आगे बढ़ते हैं. The diagram shows part of a circuit. What is the combined resistance of the resistor? हमने combined resistance of the resistance निकालनी है. How will we do that? 2 plus 1 3 ohms. ये आ गया बेटा 3 ohms. Parallel में you have 4 ohms here. Connect कर दो. Can you calculate the resistance in parallel? Yes, 1 over 3. 1 over 4 is equals to 1 over RT. Take out a calculator, put the fractions. This comes out to be 7 over 12 is equals to your 1 over RT. Reciprocate your answer. 12 over 7 is equals to your RT. क्या आंसर आ रहा है सर? 1.7 ohms. C is your answer. आगे बढ़ते हैं. The diagram shows a circuit which include two resistors and a battery. ठीक है. The voltmeter reading is 6 volts. अच्छा जी voltmeter reading is 6 volt. What is the potential difference across the 30 ohm resistor? आपने potential difference निकालना है across the 30 ohm resistor. Simple ratio method. अब बेटा मैं रेशियो मेथड क्यों लगा सकता हूँ? बिकॉज यू रियलाइज कि आपका जो सीरीज सर्किट होता है उसमें करंट क्या करता है? इन अ सीरीज सर्किट द करंट इज कांस्टेंट. In a series circuit, if current is constant, you can replace this with a direct proportionality sign. Voltage become directly proportional to resistance. If a 10 ohm resistor is taking up 6 volts, 30 ohm का resistor कितने voltages लेगा? X. X comes out to be 18 volts. C is your answer. आगे बढ़ते हैं. A wire is moved downward in a direction perpendicular to the magnetic field. Three changes are suggested. The speed of the movement is increased. the magnetic field is decreased. The direction of the magnetic field is reversed. अच्छा जी. Which change increases the electromotive force? कौन सा change electromotive force को increase कर रहा है? Moving the wire with a greater speed जो है वो EMF को increase करेगा. स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ मैग्नेटिक फील्ड डिक्रीज करोगे तो ईएमएफ डिक्रीज कर जाएगी. डायरेक्शन ऑफ मैग्नेटिक फील्ड रिवर्स करोगे तो ईएमएफ रिवर्स हो जाएगा. बी इज योर ओनली आंसर. आगे बढ़ते हैं. A wire is moved through a magnetic field. This causes an induced current in the wire. The induced current interacts with the magnetic field to produce a force on the wire. ये कौन से लॉ की बात हो रही है? लेंसेज लॉ. बेटा आपके वायर के अक्रॉस एक मैग्नेटिक फील्ड. The wire is moved across a magnetic field. This causes an induced current in the wire. This induced current again interacts with the magnetic field, producing a force. इस फोर्स की डायरेक्शन क्या होगी? This force always opposes the movement of the wire. D is your answer. हमेशा याद रखो, according to Lenz's law, induced current always generates a force so as to oppose the motion of the change causing it. A 100% efficient step down transformer has primary voltage this, secondary primary current this, which row compares the secondary voltage with primary and secondary current with IP. अच्छा हमने बताना है कि how will the secondary voltage and secondary current compare with the primary voltage and the primary current. You have a step down transformer. हमेशा याद रखो, in a step down transformer the primary voltage will be greater than the secondary voltage. इसका मतलब क्या है कि सेकेंडरी वोल्टेज विल बी लेस देन द प्राइमरी. ए और बी कैंसिल आउट. सेकेंड की पॉइंट क्या होता है बेटा स्टेप डाउन के लिए? इन अ स्टेप डाउन ट्रांसफॉर्मर द करंट इन द सेकेंडरी कॉइल इज ग्रेटर देन द करंट इन द प्राइमरी कॉइल. एनी आंसर्स लाइक दैट? 32 का आंसर बिकम्स सी. आगे पढ़ते हैं. The scattering of alpha particle by a thin metal foil supports the nuclear model of an atom. Why are alpha particles used rather than neutrons? Alpha particles क्यों use होते हैं rather than neutrons? Because they travel more slowly ना, because they are heavier ना, because they are large in diameter ना, because they have a positive charge. That's why alpha particles are used. An iron nuclide is represented by the symbol shown. Which statement about a nucleus of the iron nuclide are correct? The nucleus contains 56 neutrons. No. The nucleon number is 13. No. The proton number is 26. Yes, proton number 26 है. 3 is your answer. D is your answer. A sample of radioactive isotope has an initial rate of emission 128 and a half-life of 4 days. How long will it take for the emission to fall to 32 counts per minute? अच्छा जी. इनिशियल काउंट रेट क्या है? 128. आफ्टर वन हाफ लाइफ 64 हो जाएगा. आफ्टर अनदर हाफ लाइफ 32. तो इसको भी 4 दिन लग रहे हैं, इसको भी 4 days लग रहे हैं. द टोटल अमाउंट ऑफ डेज विल बी 8 days. सी इज योर आंसर. Several scientists are working in a laboratory. The scientists are experimenting with sources which emit ionizing radiations. Each scientist is given a list of safety rules. 3 of the rules are shown. Keep at least 2 meters away from other people. ठीक है. Do not stay longer than 4 hours per day in the laboratory. Stay behind the lead lined screen. With safety rules for protection against the effect of ionizing radiation. बेटा कौन से रूल्स जो हैं हमें आयोनाइजिंग रेडिएशन से बचाएंगे? Do not stay in the laboratory longer than 4 hours. Stay behind the lead lined screen. 2 and 3 days your answer. Okay, which data is used to calculate the average orbital speed for a satellite? Orbital speed का क्या फॉर्मूला होता है? 2 pi r over capital T. What is this r? This r is the distance of the satellite from the center of the planet. यहाँ पे लिख लो. r क्या है? Distance of the satellite from center of planet. And what is capital T? Capital T क्या है बच्चे? Time taken for one orbit of satellite around the planet. One orbit of satellite around the planet. लिखना चाह रहे हो नहीं लिखना चाह रहे हो, it's your wish. So which things do we need? The distance of the satellite from the center of the planet, option C, gets cancelled out, and the time for one orbit. कौन सा ऑप्शन आ जाएगा? We don't need any other thing. B is your answer. Approximately how long does it take for moon to complete one orbit around the earth? 1 month. B is your answer. The energy generated in stable stars come from nuclear reaction. Which type of nuclear reaction occurs in the sun? Hydrogen join up together to form helium nuclei. D is your answer. Two quantities defines the Hubble constant h naught. The speed at which galaxy is moving away from Earth. V. The distance of the galaxy from the Earth. That is D. What is the relationship between V and D? And what is the current estimate for h naught? हम कह सकते हैं velocity is directly proportional to D. Hubble space constant is 2.2, 10 raised to the power of minus 18. 40 का answer is A. If you have any ambiguities, you can ask in the chat.